In this video, I'm going to be breaking down trend lines for you guys in its most simple and rawest form and how you can use trend lines every day in your trading to actually make money. Contrary to popular belief, because of the ICT community and the SMC community, people think that trend lines aren't actually a thing and they don't work, but I'm here to tell you you are very wrong and they are very wrong. Trend lines do work, especially higher time frame trend lines. And again, in this video, I'm going to be divulging fully into trend lines in every shape and form, a full masterclass so you can become an expert and employ this in your trading to make huge profits today. Okay guys, so in this video, we're going to be covering trend lines in a full in-depth guide, a no bullshit guide, okay? I didn't really want to, put any type of other text here because there's too much to cover and I just can't really, we're not talking about one specific concept like the market maker model or anything else specifically. So obviously I want you guys to watch the video fully and kind of go on what I'm trying to tell you and, absorb this masterclass on, trend lines, right? Contrary to popular belief, the issue that has happened in the, smart money and, just trading space in general is that we've deviated from our core critical concepts, okay? Our core principal concepts. And one of these concepts are our trend lines. Contrary to popular belief, people think that trend lines don't work, but they do, guys, okay? Higher time frame trend lines are supply and demand on an angle. You guys don't understand this, and they will actually work as reactive points. There are going to be a couple of concepts that I want to talk about, like trendline projection, obviously your higher time frame trend lines, your lower time frame scalping trend lines, etc., and how you can utilize this. And we're going to be kind of doing like a top-down analysis, and just so you can get a feel for it and get an idea. But essentially is, you want to kind of look at your daily. Obviously, I'm going to be covering gold. If you have any other pair requests, I can definitely do that. But gold's in my number one pair. It's the only pair that I trade. And yeah, anyways. So we're currently looking at the gold futures contracts as of recently. And I'm just going to hide this indicator here for now. Okay. But essentially, it's very easy to mark out where your trend lines is. You guys might not, be good at this, but you can use 2 points or 3 points to make a trend line. So for example, in real time, right, assuming none of this price action has formed, right, this area, right, would have been a trend line, right? You would have had this angle marked out, kind of, I like to do it like at the average point. Some people do it at the top of the close of the candle and mark it out like that and just connect the two lines, and what do you know? Well, this is a huge tap, right? It's not a coincidence that it's reacting off that. Like I said, like to take the average point, which is like around here, to get like a little bit of a better idea of where price might react on an average standpoint, and then obviously we have that reaction down. Now, if you look here, obviously, here and here and here, you essentially just want to notice an angle, right? If you have an angle, like if this is a line, right, and I have an angle up like this, right, you just want to be essentially observing the angle, okay? You want to be noticing any type of, price action that's kind of moving at a, on a diagonal or like an angle, right? Simple, okay? All really what this is. So down here, you can see on the higher time frame, we have this area right here. You can say it's a demand level, but yeah, you can also say it's a trend line, right? You can also kind of mark that out like that, and well, in real time, if I had gone here, you would have marked these 2 points out, okay? And then you would have seen that, oh, what do you know? Price came in, tapped it on the third time, and then had a nice reaction up. And usually the third tap is going to be the most strong and the most powerful reaction. And yeah, you can just enter off some other confirmations. We're not really covering confirmations in this video. We're just mainly talking about trend lines and how to draw them, how to identify them, etc. But it's mainly two hits. And remember, the more hits a trend line has, the stronger it is, but also the weaker it is at the same time, right? I know that sounds kind of contradictory, but it's the same thing as supply and demand. If you guys have watched my supply and demand videos, you're just essentially waiting for retests as well as breakouts of these trend lines and then waiting for, retracements and then entering on some type of lower confirmation based on other factors, swing structure, candle confirmation, change of character, RSI entry, or just price action entry, whatever that might be, right? And if we kind of zoom out here, I always do this, guys. I always kind of go to my higher time frame and always mark out my from my top down, like my main trend lines. And there's a principle called Trendline Projection. Okay, so as you can see right here, notice gold right now. Okay, notice how we're kind of, and it's hard to see, but notice how we're kind of making higher highs like this. But this is forming into a trend line. You can connect these points to an average area such as this based on this price data, and what you can do is it's called trendline projection. So if you're looking for other points of where the market might react, you can copy the angle of this trend line and then move it up to the most recent point of price action structure, which is over here, right? At this point, this is the most recent high made based in this kind of channel, and obviously put it at the midpoint of that. So you'll notice now that price will actually very, very perfectly react off these points. And if you were here in real time, you would have been able to mark out this trend line in real time, guys, which is absolutely crazy and it's absolutely powerful. You know, when gold's making all-time highs, people are like, oh, how do I know where gold's gonna go? How do I know where price is gonna go next? Well, you use your trend line projection to figure this out, okay, and kind of give you guidance. There's also some other sauce. I'm not gonna teach it here. It's in my premium mentorship. You can go ahead and join. But essentially, as we play out price, well, look where that reaction was. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect, right? You can make an easy confluence saying, hey, we're coming up to this higher time frame trendline projection and we're super overbought on the RSI. This is most likely going to be our reversal point. And well, you could have easily, the moment price has touched this trend line, entered off some type of confirmation. Let's say the 30-minute, you're waiting for a 30-minute strong engulfing closure. You enter off right here, stop loss above the swing high, right? Like right around there. And this would have ran for at least 3 RR, guys. 3 RR, which is very, very powerful. Remember, this is a counter trend trade. Fundamentally, you have to be taking things into account as well. But this is why trend lines are so powerful. And what do you know, guys? As you have this extended out, right? Look at that. We wicked that point, had a huge move down, right? We blew through this point, and then it reacted as a demand level and then went higher. So when a market's trending, and when you have these higher time frame trend lines out, it's very powerful to catch entries essentially. And it's just absolutely insane what higher time frame trend lines can do for you. And you can, again, have these, all marked out completely, on your chart, and yeah, essentially make money with these, right? What else do we need to talk about? So for example, now what am I looking at? Well, we kind of broke out of this trend line, and it doesn't look like we're stopping any of the momentum. The fundamentals are currently super bullish on gold. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at for retracements to some area around here, and then a move higher like that. Very simple, guys. No smart money bullshit, no ICT bullshit, just pure supply and demand and trend lines, which actually do work, surprisingly. And I urge you guys need to incorporate this into your trading as much as possible, especially when you're doing your top-down higher time frame analysis. It's going to be so beneficial for you guys. I do this for my community. I do it for my students. And yeah, now we're gonna take a quick look at the CFD chart real quick because I want to show you how powerful this can be, especially on the higher time frame, right? If we kind of go out again, right now, showing you guys, okay, obviously we have our, our trend line kind of going like that. We also have like I said, like this, this trend line like that, right? The issue is that the CFD and futures pricing is a bit different, as you guys know. But I always do my charting on the futures pair because that's where the real data is, the real price data, as y'all know. But let's actually bring up the continuous futures contract. I'm going to delete this for now. And you'll notice that it's the same exact principle, guys, the same exact principle, right? If you have, price data going in a certain direction, you can literally use these points and formulate trend lines, right? Like all of this data, all of this price actions is because of, trends and the fundamentals, but how do you cash these, especially when the market's trending or whatever, it's you use these trend lines. Anyways, I use trend lines a lot in that sentence. But for example, right, if you have a trend line like this, okay, you could have a trend line like that, and well, those are your points, okay? As you can see, we reacted off here, off this point right here, right, as a supply level or as a demand level, went higher. We came again to retest it as a demand level and then went higher. Pretty cool stuff if you ask me, right? And what do we do now is, well, we have another trend line maybe forming like this, right? You take the average point like that, and what do you know? We don't really hit it. We have some resistance over here, some resistance whatever over there, and then we don't hit it over here. We just keep going higher, right? And then what do we have over here? We have another trend line form. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to mark out like every given trend line at a given time. You only want to mark the most recent and applicable ones in the price range / structure that you're kind of trading because that's going to be the most highest probability, okay? For example, we got another trend line like right here, right? If you mark that out, right, like this, boom, look at that. Came in, had a slight retest, right? Not perfect, but we went higher, and then, okay, retest here, retest there, right? Simple. Okay, and again, I like to use the average price, but it's pretty interesting stuff. Okay, now we've kind of already covered the higher time frame, like the daily and the weekly, and it just all depends. Like you can mark these out even on the 4 hour and 1 hour, but it's just better to have obviously your higher time frame trend lines marked out because those are going to be your most reactive. Like your daily supply and demand and your daily trend lines are going to be the best. We got one right here, okay, one right here. You can even mark this right here. This is on the 4 hour, right? Okay, and this is not really applicable. After we kind of break down, nothing's really happening, right? We came again, retested this, and yeah, this still acts kind of like over here, right? We kind of have a bounce over here, but yeah, you guys get my point. Now, I do want to cover the lower time frame. Now, it's not easy, on the lower time frame marking out these trend lines. I mean, it is, but in terms of entering, you got to be really patient because the same principle applies. You can notice these structures in real time, and then obviously, enter off that. Like for example, in real time, you'd only have these 2 points, and then the third tap and the fourth tap were going to be your entry points right here and right here. You might have, yeah, right here, you got two points right there, right? 2 points right there in real time. You'd mark these out like that and be like, oh, where's the next reactionary point? Okay, obviously that next reactionary point is going to be right here. It does actually tap this perfectly. Has a nice had a nice little reaction, but then obviously this was the major point. And again, obviously you have to confirm these with other pairs, or excuse me, you have to confirm these with other confirmations. But that's kind of like the gist of it. You essentially would just want to mark out, and what makes the most sense if you kind of can view price in like this type of channel. Right? If you see something like this, of where price is like kind of going in between a range, like on an angle, that's going to be like how you identify your trend lines, right? And I can try my best to show you guys visually, but it just comes with experience, right? If you have any questions, you can just obviously join my Discord or ask me in person. But it shouldn't be too hard to see. Like as you see price forming out in real time, well, it's just easy. You connect the dots, right? It's literally you literally just connect the dots, right? So should be like that. Now again, on the lower time frame, like I said, like the 3 minute, 1 minute, it is a bit harder to like get these on lock. Like you have to be kind of patient and kind of have to wait for the structure. Like for example, you would have a trend line right here, right? And then you'd obviously have a trend line right here as well, right? And then as you can see, when we kind of break out of that trend line, we retest it and then have that move up. So then obviously that's going to be your entry. So you can have like retests of your trend line, you can have breaks of the trend line, but usually, like I said, like with the fundamentals and other things, like you want to essentially play the retracement onto the retest and have a move higher. So like if you did something like this, right? Like wow, look at that. Like you could have ran this for 6 RR. You know what I mean? Crazy stuff, right? And this is what, September 25th. This is like 3 days ago. Not bad, right? And then you want to go for the most obvious stuff because like there's nothing obvious in this price action. Like you can't really tell a lower time frame trend line like obviously in here. You need some price action to form some consolidation, some range. Like if I were to give you this area, right? If I were to give you this area, I'd be like, okay, right, show me the trend lines, right? Show me the trend lines. Well, obviously you can market the trend lines right here, right? Right there. Change the angle a little bit like that to reflect more recent price data. You'd see a trend line right there. And well, obviously, when price starts to kind of break above and close like this, you can say, oh, okay, this is a pretty strong closure above this trend line. Maybe we're waiting for a retest and then a move higher, right? So simple. Now, if I asked you to delete all these and to say, okay, show me more trend lines, you'd see like, okay, well, we got one trend line right there. Now we got one new forming right there, right? And yeah, pretty good stuff. Now in this case, right? Remember, it's not going to be perfect every single time like any trading concept. Like there's no perfect trading concept. You're gonna have volume come in at random times, and like again, like if you have huge New York volume coming in or just like a huge impulsive candle, well, it's just gonna blow through everything. Like for example, imagine all the people that expected retraces for all-time highs to go higher, and nope, we just retraced, we took out all these lows, right? Came around here to this average price level, then we had that move higher, right? But on the lower time frame, marking these out are very powerful, I'd say. And in real time, you're gonna get that skill, right? Okay, great example right here. Obviously, trend line right here, right? It has a couple bounces, right? Trend line also right here, but unfortunately it failed. It broke down to the downside, and again, you actually took this trade actually as well. But you can consider this a trend line break, right? Breakout to the downside, and then all you do is you play the retracement off that to some premium supply demand level, or maybe a touch of that, and then well, price goes down. I actually took this trade. I actually took a retrace off this supply level. I went for like a 1-to-1 on this. I made 2% on my funded accounts, which was great actually. And yeah, that was kind of like the A++ setup in my opinion. Moving forward, right, if we kind of mark it out even more, now you can kind of see some data forming, right? Like there's something forming right here, and like overall there's something forming like kind of right here. So you can literally take out this trend line, right, put it like that at the average point, another point like there. This is the average point like right here, and you don't want to make it like too much of an average point. The whole point of like making it at the midpoint, which is the average, or like the extremity is like to get more of like an idea of where price is going to react. But you don't want to put it like right there because that's like not really where the trend line is, right? You want to be as close to the opens of and the bodies of the candle as possible, and then obviously mark it out like that, right? In this case, right, we have our trend line marked out. We have a break above that trend line, a strong closure with this structure right here. Similar thing, a retest of that area, and then a move higher, right? And you can, have crazy setups on these guys, crazy setups on these, and they work, right? It's not ICT bullshit. It's not SMC bullshit. It's just real supply and demand on an angle, right? Which is what a trend line is. And I do talk about some systems in my mentorship about like some scalping techniques and stuff, but essentially all it boils down to is you're waiting for retests of these supply demand levels as they're made, and just you enter off some type of confirmation like that with the stop loss below the low, and you essentially go for 1-to-1. So you do something like this, 1-to-1, boom, 1-to-1, 1-to-1, and there you go. You made 3 RR, right? Crazy stuff. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty short video than I expected. There's nothing really else to cover in terms of, higher time frame trend lines. I just showed you kind of how you can do trend line projection, and that's mainly for higher time frame. It's not really good for the lower time frame, but yeah, on the daily and weekly, you want to obviously have your higher time frame trend line projections marked out, and you can even see like this, guys. Like, look at this. Like, I knew like some person who did this essentially, right? And then he used a trend line projection to do something like this, I think, to this high right here. And what do you know? Like, this is, a really, really, not perfect, but like these are areas where price kind of like, over here, had reactions from, right? Like I said, like more recent data. So I'd be using, like I said, these data points, like right here, like I told you guys, like right there, to get like more of an average area, and then I would obviously put it to that high, right, like right there. Go over here. Oh, this is kind of getting messy now. And obviously, yeah, like these are going to be your reactionary points, right, of where you're going to use guidance from. So I hope that was pretty informative. Nothing too crazy here, but if you have any questions, like I said, drop a comment. I can make a better video if you guys want, or give you more explanation. And yeah, I hope you can use this in your trading, especially to figure out where price is going at all-time highs and in trends, as well as use on the lower time frame to wait for retests and breakouts, and then hopefully catch some good trades. All right.